Hello, and welcome to this presentation of part 1 of a two-part series titled Refinery Power Failures, Causes, Costs, and Solutions. This series is presented by Hydrocarbon Publishing Company. In this presentation, we will introduce the purpose of the paper series. We will give a broad overview of refinery shutdowns. Then, we will dive into the causes of power disruptions at refineries. We will focus on weather-related causes of power disruptions, notably Hurricane Isaac and Superstorm Sandy. We will then shift our focus to equipment breakdowns and power surges. Once we have briefly overviewed the causes of power disruptions, we will look at the costs of these power failures. We will look at the production loss and profit penalties, the potential environmental legal liabilities, and the potential safety legal liabilities. We all take electricity for granted until the lights go out. For most of us, we just endure until the power comes back on. For refineries, however, there are a number of consequences that occur when their lights go off. About 90 seconds into the second half of the 2013 Super Bowl, the American Football Championship game, half the stadium lost power. The ensuing 34-minute delay was caused by a malfunction in a faulty electrical relay that was supposed to monitor the electrical load. This is one example of how a power failure can be inconvenient. This article is the first of a two-part series examining technology-driven strategies to mitigate refinery power failures and minimize impacts on company earnings. In Part 1, the causes and financial costs when a refinery suffers a power disruption are discussed. Part 2 will focus on mitigation technologies available to refiners for minimizing power disruptions and unplanned shutdowns. We collected our data from the U.S. Department of Energy's daily publication, Energy Assurance Daily. All of the stories were about U.S. refineries. We collected over 1,700 refinery shutdown stories from 2009 to 2012. This means that there was an average of 1.2 shutdowns per day over the 4-year period. We split the causes of the shutdowns into 5 categories: electrical disruptions, mechanical breakdowns and plant upsets, planned maintenance, unplanned maintenance and leaks, and other. Mechanical breakdowns and plant upsets made the largest reason at 46%. Unplanned maintenance and leaks made up the second biggest reason for refinery shutdowns at 21%. While planned maintenance just consisted of 2% of the reasons for refinery shutdowns. The other category, at 12%, consists of unknown reasons and fires. The last category, which we will inspect further, is the electrical disruptions. These accounted for 19% of refinery shutdowns. From 2009 to 2012, there were about 319 documented electrical disruptions at refineries. This means that there is one electrical disruption every 5 days at a refinery in the U.S. The largest reason for power disruptions is unspecified at just over 60%. These stories were listed as, quote, a power disruption occurred at the refinery, unquote, and other vague statements. The vagueness of the stories is due to the fact that the refiner doesn't want to report the reason or doesn't know the reason at the time of the report. Whatever the reason is, the large percentage of unspecified causes makes it difficult to state any definite conclusions. The fact that there is a refinery somewhere in the U.S. having a power disruption every 5 days tells us there is a problem. However, the large number of unspecified causes makes it difficult to offer any real solutions. Fires, power surges, and other reasons for power disruptions factor about 2% each for the reasons for power disruptions. The other category were the weird reasons for power disruptions, such as a rodent coming into contact with a transformer, or a goose flying into a power line causing a power failure at the refinery. The next 2 causes, equipment breakdowns and weather, will be looked at in more detail. Electrical equipment breakdowns accounted for 17.6% of power disruptions, while weather accounted for 16.4%. These 2 reasons, especially equipment breakdowns, are probably more reoccurring or weren't specified in the reports. Some of the refineries that experienced power failures were only down for a few hours. while others took a day or more to restore operations. The weather is not very predictable. Even day by day, the weather can alter from predicted values. There are 4 major weather events that cause damage and power failures at refineries. Wind can knock down power lines and cause debris to damage units. Lightning can damage units by causing fires and power surges. Heavy rains can disrupt steam supplies. Flooding can cause saltwater corrosion and equipment damage. Hurricanes and tornadoes bring together many of these factors with one big storm. While the weather can't be avoided, steps can be taken to protect units from wind, lightning, rain, and flooding. Hurricanes are difficult to contend with as a refinery. The hurricane season extends from June until November. The refinery wants to keep producing its products to have supplies when the hurricane hits, but also needs ample time to safely shut down the refinery. Refineries in the Gulf Coast have contingency plans to shut the plant down based on data gathered about the hurricane that is inbound. Hurricane Isaac hit Louisiana on August 28, 2012. The hurricane caused extensive flooding and power failures in the area. 9 Louisiana refineries were shut down due to the hurricane, a total capacity of 2.2 million barrels per day. On October 28, 2012, Hurricane Sandy hit land in New Jersey. The combination of the hurricane with another weather system led to Sandy being upgraded from a hurricane to a superstorm. Phillips 66's 238,000 barrel per day refinery in Bayway, New Jersey was shut for about 24 days due to damage sustained from saltwater flooding to the electrical equipment. The expenses due to repair alone are totaled at $56 million. This expense does not include potential revenue loss. In our white paper, we performed a case study estimating the potential total loss of the refinery. Now we will shift our focus from weather causes to equipment breakdowns. We categorized equipment into 4 sections: electrical equipment such as transformers, substations, and switchgear; refinery processing units such as the FCCU, HCU, CDU, and alkylation unit; rotary equipment such as compressors and motors; and unspecified breakdowns that caused an electrical disruption. The most common breakdowns were various electrical equipment units at 56%. Refinery processing units had electrical issues about 24% of the time. There were a number of compressor-related shutdowns that occurred. However, we were only able to count the ones that specified that it was an electrical problem with the compressor. Those accounted for 7% of power disruptions. Electrical equipment doesn't last forever. They are prone to arc flashes and fire. There were a number of documented cases where a fire occurred at the substation or at a switchgear. Substations and power lines are mostly the responsibility of the local power utility company, so a refinery is mostly helpless when a problem occurs. In February 2012, PBF Energy's Delaware City, Delaware plant had electrical issues with the CDU. 2 compressors in the unit became inoperable due to the issue. This led to the unit to be shut down and flaring to occur. On March 10, 2013, Phillips 66's Sweeney, Texas refinery experienced a power failure due to a third-party supplier. The plant was shut and experienced operational issues due to the power failure. It is estimated that it will take several days to restart the refinery. Power surges occur at every industrial building and house. They can be avoided by having properly maintained circuit breakers and switchgear. Power surges can be caused by lightning strikes and transient voltages on the supply line. Power surges have been known to trigger fires and knock compressors and other units offline. In May 2011, Phillips 66's Wilmington, California facility had a power fluctuation that shut down several units. It took until the next day to restore operations. Now that we have analyzed the causes of power disruptions at refineries, we will now look at the costs of the disruptions. When a refinery goes down, it not only loses money from trying to repair and restart the plant, but it also is not making any money because there is no product being made. The cash margin is the gross margin minus the operating costs. The operating costs exclude taxes, depreciation, and financial charges. You can calculate the net profit loss by multiplying the FCCU size by the utilization factor, by the number of days offline, and by the cash margin. The utilization factor is the rate at which the FCCU is producing product versus the maximum capacity. By looking over a 7-day shutdown period for different cash margins, you can create this graph of the net profit loss due to a shutdown. Following the U.S. Energy Information Administration refinery outages, description and potential impact on petroleum product prices from March 2007, we used an average size U.S. Gulf Coast refinery FCCU of 80,000 barrels per day. We used an 85% utilization rate. It should be noted that this is the net profit loss for gasoline. It does not take into account polymer-grade propylene and light cycle oil, which are also popular products to be used at other plants. If there is a cash margin of $3 per barrel and the refinery is down for 2.5 days, then the refinery will lose out on about $500,000. If there is a cash margin of $5 per barrel and the refinery is down for 3 days, then the refinery will lose out on about $1 million. In our white paper, we performed a case study to estimate the total loss of Phillips 66's Bayway refinery due to Superstorm Sandy. When a refinery goes down, they aren't producing any products. This can lead to missed shipments to retail outlets, which at a time of strong demand can lead to a price surge. This can result in a public outcry and possible government investigations. The environmental and retail price issues will generate negative media coverage that is associated with a refinery shutdown and flaring. A fast shutdown also raises the chance of mechanical damage. Repairs to damaged mechanical parts as well as the cost of downtime can make power failure even more costly. Unit shutdowns and restarts are known to reduce energy efficiency and increase the carbon footprint of the operation. When a refinery experiences a problem, the flare is always activated. Many outages can be prevented and result in unnecessary flaring. The EPA has acquired consent decrees from 105 U.S. refineries in 32 states and territories since December 2000. All of these settlements have involved nitric oxides, sulfur oxides, benzene, and volatile organic compounds. All of the violations involve one or more of 4 key refinery components: the FCCU, the SRU, flares, and heaters and boilers. Prolonged flaring resulted from a fire caused by a corroded pipe at Chevron's 245,000 barrel per day Richmond, California refinery in August 2012. As a result, Chevron has paid $10 million to individuals, area hospitals, city agencies, and the Hazardous Materials Program as of January 2013. There are approximately 24,000 civil claims that have been levied against the firm as a result of the flaring at Richmond. While this is not a power disruption, the amount of flaring that occurred can still result from a power failure. Emergency shutdowns because of power failures can also pose safety issues. Sometimes a refinery shutdown will force the need to evacuate workers for safety reasons. In April 2010, BP's Texas City, Texas plant experienced an electrical outage that shut off all power and steam to the refinery and forced the evacuation of non-essential workers from the plant. Safety-related incidents can result in loss of life, along with potential for millions of dollars in fines and civil lawsuits, not to mention any negative publicity from the event. BP has paid over $87 million in fines issued by OSHA, along with undisclosed amounts in civil suits related to an explosion and subsequent fire at its Texas City, Texas refinery on March 23, 2005, that resulted in 15 worker deaths and over 170 injuries. About 19% of refinery shutdowns in the U.S. between 2009 and 2012 were caused by power disruptions because of severe weather, poor power quality, and electrical equipment malfunctions. It costs refiners millions of dollars every year because of lost production, repairs to damaged equipment, sending valuable materials to flares, possible fines for excessive emissions, and so on. Technological options available include approaches to examine transformer failure due to switching transients, perform transformer end-of-life evaluations, undertake early fault detection and diagnosis in an FCCU, reduce arc flash energy, and predict and diagnose medium voltage switchgear in rotating machines. This presentation, along with more detail, is available as a white paper at www.hydrocarbonpublishing.com/whitepapers. The paper is available for download for free. This paper includes a case study on expenses and revenue loss by Phillips 66's Bayway Refinery caused by Superstorm Sandy. Part 2 of this series will be available soon and will feature prevention technology such as preventive maintenance techniques, protection technologies such as transformers, circuit breakers, protective relays, substations, and switchgear, and recovery technology such as backup generators and uninterruptible power supplies. We also will discuss reliability and security, including combined heat and power systems and microgrids. We thank you for taking your time to watch this presentation and hope you enjoyed the show.